Hi, Star. So today, Jamie and I are just going to model what is known as the dilemma protocol. And so, as we met in our small teams this week for our last learning log meetings, I kind of prefaced next Tuesday with letting you know that I was going to ask you to be reflective. So, again, the push for this particular protocol is to stop right now in the middle of all the chaos and really solidify, put into words a dilemma, a thing that you are working on or that you want to be different in your practice for next year. And so that's what we're going to model today. And then the link in the newsletter will show you how to go through the process as an individual. And this is where we're going to pick up day one of next year. So I'm ready if you're ready, Mrs. Thomas.
Okay, so the first step is thinking about your dilemma. So I want you to think about a dilemma that you face that bothers you consistently, that may not already be on its way to being resolved.
Okay.
And it does not have to depend on others changing.
Okay. So I need to pick a dilemma that I have control over.
Correct.
So I can't say something like, I don't like rocket math, because rocket math is a district. Okay.
Correct.
So I have to think about something that is in my control with my practice. Okay. And so since I'm a building level administrator, it looks different than it would for a teacher. But one of the dilemmas that I've been thinking about is John Hattie and Hattie's research. So I feel like that John Hattie and the research that I've been exposed to is, I mean, it's professionally changing. I mean, it can change practice. I believe strongly in it. I don't think that I've done a good job as a leader in helping my staff understand Hattie enough, or I just kind of put it out there and I didn't do more. So how do I define that? So that's kind of my first step. Is I know the dilemma, I know the importance of Hattie, I know the importance of the research. I recognize in my mind that I haven't done a good job of presenting it to my staff. So that kind of meets the first criteria, right? So I can control that. Okay. So now what do I need to do?
Okay, so the second step is to do some form of reflective writing about your dilemma.
Okay.
Okay, and so there's some guiding questions. So first off, why is this dilemma important to you?
Because it can change professional practice. I mean, it's the definition, it's self-efficacy. It's not somebody else telling you what should be done. It's you knowing and understanding as a professional what needs to be done. I mean, you're that reflective. That's astounding.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then talk about a little about the process of what you've done to kind of resolve or remedy.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why I'm here with my dilemma, is I feel like I haven't done much. I feel like I've been one of those people this year who kind of chased the squirrel, right? I got the Hattie, I introduced it, I was really excited by it, and then other things got in the way and it kind of dropped off. So if I was being really honest and reflective, that's what I would write in my reflection.
Okay. So your dilemma is kind of about you as a starting point.
Well, yeah, I just let myself, as a leader, as an instructional leader, just went all over the place. I introduced Hattie. Everybody knows I like Hattie. We had a quick introduction to it, but I just didn't do a good job of, I guess, really letting staff know and understand why it matters so much.
Okay. So step 3 then would be creating a question, a focused question about your dilemma, and putting it in a question format so that we can start to work towards some sort of resolution.
All right. This one I find a lot harder because, I mean, the heart of Hattie is efficacy, right? So the heart of my question probably is less about Hattie, if I wanted to be honest, but using Hattie as a vehicle to create self-efficacy in staff, right? So even though I've spent the bulk of this conversation talking about Hattie, I think what I'm going to say here in terms of my question is, how can I build self-efficacy in teachers? But then I have to feel like I have to qualify it. I mean, creating that question is hard. So, because it's really about creating people who, and having people and giving people the capacity to understand not only that self-reflection and self-efficacy is important, but also the skills to do it. Self-actualization is very hard. So how do I define that? Are there questions that can help me define that question better? Like, how do I think about my question? Because I think my question is, how can I build self-efficacy in staff?
Well, step 4 goes on to critiquing your question. So maybe that would be the next step that we would focus on. So thinking about, is this question important to your practice?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
And everybody else's too. Yeah.
Is this question important to student learning? And then is this question important to others in my profession?
Yeah. It's bigger than, yes. I think that idea of self-efficacy is important for me and for everybody. So I could probably, at least initially, as I'm leaving this year, because I'm going to start my next year with this.
Right.
As I'm leaving this year, I can know that when I walk back after the summer and I've had all those breaks and my brain is sun-soaked and, that the thing that I want to make sure I go back to is, how do I build self-efficacy in staff? And so, I think that it does meet the dialogue of all those things. That's a tough question, though. But the next step next year is how I do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. That's the dilemma protocol.